India's richest man is making his biggest technology bet yet.
I'm proud that artificial intelligence is already at the heart of Reliance's transformation into a deep tech enterprise. Today, it is my great pleasure and privilege to announce the formation of a new, wholly owned subsidiary of Reliance called Reliance Intelligence. 7 years ago, Jio promised broadband connectivity to everyone, everywhere. We have delivered. Today, Jio promises AI to everyone, everywhere. And we shall deliver.
So, Mukesh Ambani's goal is to make Reliance a global hyperscaler, like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud. The timing is crucial. AI investments worldwide are soaring after the ChatGPT boom and heavy spending by the US and China. And India wants to be more than a consumer of AI. It wants to build it. And Reliance is pitching itself as the country's AI backbone. How will it do this? What could be Reliance's primary deliverables for Reliance Intelligence? How will its vast data reserves power this initiative and help it become a differentiator and disruptor? Will India's AI talent gap be a challenge? In short, how will Reliance ensure that it repeats its Jio success and that Reliance Intelligence doesn't end up as just another experiment? All this and more in today's episode. It's Thursday, the 18th of September. I'm Anirban Chowdhury, and this is the Morning Brief. My guests today are Neil Shah, tech analyst and co-founder of Counterpoint Research, and Himanshi Lohchab, ET's in-house AI ace. Neil, Himanshi, very warm welcome to the Morning Brief.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks, Anirban.
Right. So, Neil, how well do you think Reliance is poised to disrupt this space? When Mukesh Ambani says AI for everyone, everywhere, what do you think he means?
I think it's the same ethos with which Mr. Ambani launched the Jio network, where Jio came in, right? He democratized most of the mobile internet and made it one of the most low-cost accessible internet in the world. I think he wants to take a leaf from the same playbook and do it for AI. I think AI is going to be the next technology which is going to drive digital transformation for India.
Now, Reliance has announced gigawatt-scale data centers in Jamnagar, Gujarat. Just to give you an idea, 1 gigawatt equals the power of a large nuclear plant. Here's Himanshi.
So, Anirban, 1 gigawatt is the combined capacity of all data centers that exist in India today. Along with that, if you look at the new energy investments, they've already said that it's 4 times larger than Tesla's gigafactory. This is tens of billions of dollars of investments that's going into infrastructure right now. Along with that, when you come to, cloud, Jio has just last year offered 100 GB free cloud storage for its users. That's not coming for free. Reliance is sort of paying for that storage as well. So this is the entire ecosystem that Reliance is building in terms of investments.
Do you have a ballpark figure of how much is going in for our listeners?
See, that is something even the market has not come out with on what kind of investments these could be. For example, if you look at just one Nvidia Blackwell GPUs, one GPU in India right now, the import cost is somewhere around 98 lakhs. And to power a 1 gigawatt factory, analysts are estimating that Reliance will need 3 lakh GPUs deployed over the next 4 to 5 years.
Wow.
You can do the math. And these are Blackwell GPUs. By the time they're in the next 4 or 5 years, Nvidia might bring more high-powered GPUs. So that's the kind of scale we are looking at.
And this obviously means a massive leap from what is happening in India right now in terms of AI investments.
In India, it's in very nascent stages and the spending is not much because we still are building the infrastructure to have it localized more so, right? So most of the enterprises and the developers are just directly working with the cloud hyperscalers right now and OpenAI and stuff to use open source model at this point, right? So the only investment I see more so is in the API cost for fine-tuning the model based on the foundational models which they get from open source communities. So that is where it is, and they're renting out GPU on whatever the infrastructure is available right now. So if you look at the AI first companies are mostly small startups, or those are like bigger system integrators, which are not AI first, but they're trying to build AI practices, all the system integrator, the software companies like Infosys and stuff. So I would say for startups, it's double-digit $1 million per year investment. Many of them are also getting some of the benefits eventually from the AI mission as well, right, which are partnering with government and MeitY as well. So most of the investments are per startup, I would say it's tens of millions of dollars at this point. And for bigger players, software players, it would be closer to triple-digit $1 million for the next few years.
But this is not just an infrastructure play. Reliance is building a web of global tech alliances to accelerate its AI plans. The most critical partner is Nvidia, which will supply the supercomputing hardware and software for Reliance's AI cloud. Here's Nvidia President and CEO Jensen Huang.
No one has contributed more, Mukesh, to help India become a high-tech and a deep-tech India.
Also, Reliance and Meta have formed a 70-30 joint venture worth about $100 million. The venture will use Meta's open-source Llama large language model to build AI tools for Indian businesses. Reliance is also deepening its relationship with Google, which invested $4.5 billion in Geo platforms and now is co-building a dedicated Indian AI cloud region. This means, of course, that Indian data and AI workloads can stay on Indian soil. Here's Himanshi.
If you look at the individual partnerships, all of them sort of align perfectly and can coexist in Reliance's vision for making affordable AI for India. For example, Nvidia GPUs, the India AI mission, the government's efforts to sort of make GPUs affordable has also recognized the fact that one single largest hurdle for India to sort of develop their own LLMs is the cost of GPUs. That is something, which Reliance and Nvidia partnership can bring priority access to its most high-power GPUs. Second, if you come to Google Cloud being their developer tools, their integrated environments will sort of help Reliance's internal transformation. The conglomerate itself, from oil to telecom to retail, is a very large conglomerate. And, the internal transformation that AI could bring, that is what Google Cloud will enable.
Okay, and Meta?
So Meta has recently pivoted to something that is known as personal superintelligence. Mark Zuckerberg has recently stated their vision on how they want to enable AI, which is an assistant to every person, which empowers their creativity, their productivity, and makes them more efficient. Reliance has also said that it wants to enable small businesses and enterprises in unlocking the productivity and efficiency gains with AI. So I think the vision with both these large companies are sort of aligned when it comes to personal superintelligence.
Think of personal superintelligence as a cognitive partner, which is almost like an extension of your mind. It learns everything about you and can help you in making decisions. The scope here is obviously much deeper than AI agents. Here's Mark Zuckerberg at Reliance's latest AGM.
Superintelligence is going to greatly improve all of our existing systems and let us build things that we can't even imagine today. And that's why I am excited about this partnership. It is a key step forward towards ensuring that everyone has access to AI and eventually superintelligence. Meta and Reliance are going to deliver our open source AI models to Indian businesses to help them fuel their work.
Now, Reliance's main USP is neither hardware nor partnerships. It's data from more than 500 million Geo customers. This means every call, every message, and every video stream generates data to train AI models. Add to that the data from Reliance Retail, JioCinema, JioSaavn, and JioMart, and you get one of the largest integrated consumer data sets anywhere.
So if you look at the most of the lucrative businesses in the world is advertising. So if you look at Google or Meta or even Amazon to that front, like most of the actual revenues come from advertising, because they have access to billions of users data, and they can cross sell the access to the users to advertisers and marketers. So if you look at Reliance, they have a base of almost 500 million users. By partnering with all of these different companies and learning from the user data patterns and what are the different profiles of users, segmentation and so forth, and also owning a content platform, right, with Network 18 and so forth. So definitely they can attract a lot of advertisers. Geo Hotstar is one of the other properties, right, which can be integrated. And then cross-selling a lot of other services for partners, third-party products, offerings, or even their first-party offerings with Reliance Retail and so forth. And learning more about user habits, it makes it a very attractive destination for, or a partnership for any marketer.
What can Reliance build with it? Vernacular voice assistants, AI tutors, healthcare bots, and smart city solutions. The takers? Well, anyone from small enterprises to the government.
So since it is going to be initially more of a reseller for Google Cloud infrastructure or Microsoft Azure services or OpenAI APIs, it's going to be more about enabling these small enterprises and different verticals like education, manufacturing, and startups, especially for those who are working on solving the major digital divide pain points like vernacular translation and targeting multiple languages translation using AI. But at the same time, it also has very established telco vertical and what it is being doing with GeoBrain. So you would see more of AI-based agentification for different telco aligned enterprises. You will see a lot of those things being sold by Reliance under Reliance Intelligence.
Now, what Reliance is not looking at is developing its own large language model. Here's Himanshi.
See, I think a year back when Reliance gave its vision about AI, they had said about, core AI research in building large language models which are suited for Indian requirements, Indian languages, Indian vernaculars, and suited for the Indian user. I think that narrative has sort of taken a backseat right now. There was in fact some talk in the industry about how Reliance may be developing India's own ChatGPT, which supports India's own languages. It is much more affordable and even free to use for Indian customers. So that narrative, I think, has taken a backseat because LLM research globally has reached another level, and we've also seen that India is struggling hard to catch up with that. Now the core deliverables, see, in terms of infrastructure, it is a very long-term game. It is a 4 to 5 years of deployment which will require for a 1 gigawatt AI ready data center to build. I think initially Reliance may be looking at building AI as a service for businesses and small enterprises. So, for example, let's say there's a small restaurant now, invoicing made easier for them, KYC made easier for small business owners. So, I think this is the first AI, moving up the AI stack is what Reliance may be looking at this time. Start monetizing and start offering services to small businesses. I think that's the first deliverable we may be looking at right now.
And when we talk of deliverables, we talk of dhanda, the economics of this whole business. What is that like?
So let's look at a global perspective to sort of understand where AI and generative AI as a technology has reached right now. Globally, there are 4 to 5 vendors or AI research labs who are developing these frontier models. It's OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, and to some level, the Chinese players like ByteDance and DeepSeek and Huawei, right? Now, these foundational and frontier models, the companies who are going into core research, they are constantly in need of funds to support their GPU requirements, right? And that's why we see these companies raising funds continuously. But if you look at other startups which are up in the AI stack offering services, you look at automated coding startups, Cursor, Codium, Windsurf. Basically, they're called as wrappers, LLM wrappers, because they use a family of models to power their environments and to build services on top of them. But these are the cohort of companies which are making big money right now. These are bootstrapped companies and not in the need of raising capital, and they have a sizable customer base. So there are two sets of players right now who are in very different dynamics. And in terms of making money, the startups are clearly winning. But why is the world bullish on these 4 or 5 vendors who are building LLMs? Because they form the core foundation of the technology which will be powering almost every business going forward.
Overall, of course, as with every new business, and especially one that will probably rewrite every business management rule in the world, the numbers aren't great.
There's a lot of concern right now, even among global business leaders, about where is the ROI in AI right now. For example, we recently saw the MIT report and even the Gartner Hype Cycle report, which mentions that nearly 95% of the AI pilots would fail by the end of this year.
So then, what about setting up an AI business of massive scale for the first time in India? In short, what's going to be Reliance's AI business playbook?
Now, when you come to the India perspective, right, as I said earlier, the narrative that Reliance might be looking at building their own LLMs has taken a backseat. If Meta already has a perfect LLM working in Hindi, maybe we don't need our own. The idea of core research has taken a backseat, and that is where most of the, investment goes in for powering those GPUs. Reliance has realized that we need to move up the AI stack, building AI as a service. That's what they've mentioned in their partnership with Meta, also using open source LLMs, which is Llama, which requires lesser capital. It does not require dependency on closed APIs of closed frontier model providers. Llama can be deployed on premise or remotely, and it's free to use. So, using open source LLMs like Llama, Reliance really wants to build something which is affordable for small businesses. Now, it is very difficult to right now understand the sort of business dynamics on how all of this will play out, because at one hand, we are looking at AI LLMs, which are so much compute and investment intensive, whereas on the other side, we are looking at building affordable AI, which is maybe given free to enterprises or free to customers. So the gap right now for understanding this dynamics is very large and very incomprehensible at this moment.
Got it. So from what you say, the cost intensive bit is coming from Reliance's hyperscaler ambitions, whereas its partnerships is cutting costs because it's piggybacking a lot on what has already been built by its partners. So it's difficult to sort of gauge the economics as to how they will play with each other and what affordable really means. Do I have this right?
Absolutely.
But here's what else it means. Right now, the jury is out about whether India has enough AI talent. Are professionals upgrading themselves fast enough in keeping with the rapid evolution of this technology? But then maybe Reliance doesn't really have to worry about all this. Here's Neil.
So, as Himanshi said, Reliance is not building foundational models at this point, and there are players who are building that, which requires core AI research. So, when it comes to AI talent, what talent is required in India is who can use those models and fine-tune it and build on top of that different applications and services for different enterprises and consumers. So that is a talent which Reliance will have to nurture. At the same time, will require the ecosystem as well to build and leverage their infrastructure and their partnerships with OpenAI and stuff. So I would see building that talent in the ecosystem should not be that difficult. So I don't see there would be a talent gap. But these talent will have to evolve continuously and keep themselves updated. That is where I think India government's AI mission and digital skilling is going to be super important, not only for overall Make in India, but also for the Digital India and AI mission.
Neil, do you think that, the current geopolitical scenario could be a hurdle for Reliance's AI ambitions? We have the US AI chip controls, which puts India under tier 2 bracket, where you are only allowed to import 50,000 GPUs per year. And those are also not high power GPUs. Those are the H100 versions of Nvidia. And we are here talking about GB200 versions. And this cap applies to all the providers who are importing GPUs in India. Now, Reliance alone might be looking at, let's say, something like a 3 lakh or 4 lakh GPUs. Do you think these kind of US chip controls and the conversations that the US is having with the AI tech companies on how all investments should be focused in the US only and not in any other markets, do you think geopolitics could be a hurdle somewhere?
I think with what's going on in geopolitics, I think it's more of a power game at this point between different nations. At some point, many of these companies which come from US, they have to do business. Otherwise, they won't have this flywheel effect of selling more GPUs and investing that money into R&D and building again more powerful GPUs, right? And at some point, the governments will realize that this is stifling the innovation. So I would say this would be more of a temporary situation. And on the other side, I think Reliance will also not be buying so many GPUs at the same time. It will look at more of a step-up strategy in terms of scaling as the demand grows. Even if there's a cap on 50,000 GPUs, I believe when Jensen came to India and struck this deal with Mr. Ambani, I think there would be enough influence from Nvidia and others to make us exception for Ambani, which is one of the richest conglomerate, I would say, globally. So in the end, it's more about the business deals for USA. And I think geopolitics will not surface that much in some point in future.
And yet, execution will be hard. Reliance's record outside telecom is mixed. JioMart is still far behind Amazon and Flipkart. JioMeet, Reliance's video conference app to rival Zoom, never really took off. Other bets like its acquisition of a conversational AI platform called Haptic and JioChat remain niche. You see, building an AI ecosystem is harder than rolling out a telecom network. Analysts warn of underutilized data centers and intense competition from AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. So, I asked Neil and Himanshi my last question.
What are the two things that Reliance needs to not do to make Reliance Intelligence a success?
I think that's a great question. Obviously, they have a lot of ambitions in different directions and with different acquisitions, maybe like from Tesseract to Haptic. I think that was not fundamental in the DNA, I would say, at this point. Those are really small bets. So if you look at their acquisition of Radisys, right, building the telco software stack, that is something which they did really well by integrating into their own stack and also selling it to other telcos globally, right? So that did pretty well. I think that is a good case study. And I think what with AI, what they can do is with these partnerships and investments, they have this pressure to succeed as well. They have funding and it is a high scale technology like 5G or 4G. So I think what they should do is pick 2 or 3 verticals at first and make them a strong case study where most of the AI opportunities are.
Himanshi?
Yeah, so, like Neil said, there have been certain misses and certain wins when it comes to Reliance's bet on technology every time. If you look back at the 2021 investments and partnerships with Google and Meta itself, they were heavily bent on services they would build on technology platforms. For example, there was an aspiration that JioMart along with WhatsApp partnership could be a game changer for quick commerce. And the story today is very different. We do not have JioMart today. We have the other players which are winning in this game. With Google, for instance, it said that they'll make the most affordable Android phone for India. And even that story did not succeed. So there have been certain misses and hits when it comes to Reliance's technology bets. When it comes to AI, it remains to be seen, what direction it could take, especially when the technology globally is sort of finding its way right now. See, they have all the right ingredients. They have the data centers, they have infrastructure, they have new energy, they have the scale of 500 million geo users. They are committing to a technology at, quite early in its growth phases. So they have all the ingredients at the right time at the right place. And it remains to be seen on what direction this could take.
Himanshi is right, of course. Reliance does have the right ingredients, the scale, capital, and political support to try something no other Indian company has attempted before. If it executes well, it could give India its first own AI infrastructure and a powerful homegrown alternative to US hyperscalers. If it stumbles, well, it just joins a list of grand Reliance ventures that are still trying to scale after Jio. The next 2 years, when the first data centers go live and anchor customers sign on, will decide which way this story goes. That's it for today. You were listening to this episode on The Morning Brief. It was produced by me, Vinay Joshi and Rajas Naik, sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. A new episode of TMB drops every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, Don't miss our brand new show, Corner Office Conversation, where we talk to the most interesting business leaders from India and the world. Every alternate Monday on your favorite listening platform. Have a good week. All external clips used in this episode belong to their owners. Credits are mentioned in the description.